Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting a like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now, today's first story comes from Normal Redditor from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit, and it says, Am I the arsehole for telling my dad he chose between me and his fiancée when he prioritized her surgery over mine? I, 17 female, have had a rocky relationship with my dad. My parents married after I was born, hoping to provide a stable family for me, but they divorced when I was 11 after my dad went to rehab, and things only worsened from there. During rehab, he met his current fiancée, and they later had a kid, 6 female. Since then, my dad has been mostly absent from my life. Whenever I have important events, he either has an excuse or doesn't show. I'd estimate he's been present for less than half of my events since their divorce. A few years ago, I was diagnosed with scoliosis, and initially, surgery wasn't needed. However, my conditions got worse, and I was finally scheduled for surgery on 11/20 of this year. I told my dad about it months ago, expressing how much I needed his support this time, and he promised he'd be there. But later, he texted to say he had planned a vacation that would keep him away until mid-December, just as my recovery period would be ending. It broke my heart, but I accepted it. Then, 2 hurricanes hit his vacation spot, and he told me he'd make my surgery. I felt a glimmer of hope, but then just a week before my surgery, he texted again saying his fiancée's lung cancer surgery had been scheduled for the same day, a few hours before mine, at a hospital 30 minutes away. He said he might not make it to my surgery. But with him, might not usually means won't. He added that this wasn't about who he loved more. That message shattered me. I realized that no matter how much I had hoped, he might never give me the attention and support I needed. I broke down on my kitchen floor that day. After sitting with my feelings, I texted him how deeply his actions hurt me. I said it wasn't only about love, but about showing care, and that it had given me hope only to let me down again. I questioned if his fiancée's surgery had really been scheduled last minute, or if he had known earlier but hadn't told me. I asked him to show he was my dad through his actions, not just his words. He responded, insisting the surgery was only scheduled the day he had told me. But because he's lied in the past to save face, I reached out to someone who might know the truth. I then sent a follow-up message clarifying that my frustration wasn't with his fiancée, it was with his ongoing absence and lack of support. I said that even if his reasons were genuine, he could have at least shown some empathy. I told him I hoped he'd be a better father for my half-sister than he has been for me. In a final message, I made it clear that I was done putting in all the effort to maintain our relationship on my own. I told him that if he wanted to be my dad, I would gladly be his daughter, but if he chose not to, I'd be fine with that too. He hasn't responded, and honestly, I prefer he'd sit with what I've said. For once, I hope he really thinks about his actions and the impact that they've had on me. So, am I the arsehole? And look, I think as always, it's not about that initial question, it just sounds like that was the boiling point for you. But this isn't about him choosing between the 2 surgeries, it's about a pattern of his past behavior of prioritizing his new family over his daughter, missing her important events, planning a vacation on a major surgery despite having months of notice already, and then he might come because his vacation was ruined. There's no attempt to compromise, like you said, no empathy as well. And she's 17 years old, and she's having to be more mature than her father, constantly having to explain her feelings to him for a chance that he might just be better at some point. And like I said, I think this was just the tipping point for OP. The comment where she said, I hope you're a better father to my half-sister. She knows, she's acknowledging that everything she's been through. I can't see him changing anytime soon. I can't see him sitting there thinking about his feelings, if I'm being honest. Which is just heartbreaking for OP, but Chilling Storm says, girl, your father hasn't showed up your entire life. What makes you think he's going to do it now? And furthermore, why'd you allow him to have that power over you? He is not your father. He is the male who impregnated your mother. Stop elevating him to father status. This man is going to support the person who he is making his life with, not the child he walked away from years ago. He doesn't prioritize you, and he never will. no matter what words he uses or promises he makes. Good luck with your surgery and focus on your recovery. OP says thank you. I will. Useful emphasis says, yes OP, I'm sure you'll find someone who will love you more than anyone else and will prioritize you. Don't waste your time on this dirtbag. He's not a father, he's just a sperm donor. And if it helps, I'll be praying for you. I hope you have a successful surgery and a quick recovery. Hugs from your Reddit sister. Another commenter says, lung cancer surgery for fiancé trumps daughter who still has mum's scoliosis surgery, but otherwise, from what you've said about his reliability, not the arsehole. Maybe send fiancé a note wishing her luck, and if it was a lie, shit will hit the fan. And best wishes to you for a speedy recovery. Nona says, no way. If I had to choose between my daughter and husband, I would 100% choose my daughter. Why? My husband is an adult. Me being at the hospital while I had surgery would not change the outcome of the surgery. So the severity does not matter, both surgeries could go wrong. If I had to choose whose smile I would see for the last time, it's my daughter's. I love my husband very much. He's the love of my life, but it cannot be compared to how I feel about my daughter. Would I sacrifice my own life to save my husband? I don't know. Would I sacrifice my own life to save my daughter's life? Yes, without any doubt. Just let me know where to sign, and it's done. Mary says, super shitty to think about, but Opie had a parent present that would be able to make decisions should they be needed. Fiancé presumably has Opie's dad as her decision maker, should that be needed. The decision maker needs to be present if at all possible. Dad is awful for prioritizing a vacation over his kid's surgery. However, if he's the decision maker for his partner with cancer, that surgery needs to be prioritized, and he needs to be present. So 3 months after that post, OP came in with her update and said, hey guys, it's been a while. Thanks for your love. I've been dragging my feet on an update, but here it is. Surgery recovery has been great. I've been in therapy since 12, so my therapist knows everything about my dad. Can I just say it's weird seeing my story posted on other apps with Subway Surfers and Woodwork. Love that people think my dad is a sperm donor and not a dad across all platforms. Senior night is on Valentine's Day, which I've told him weeks in advance, saying games start at 7 usually, but I'd get at the school 30 minutes early, since we will probably do it before the game. I text his mum, Mimo, I think it is, to ask him if he was going, and he texts her, oh, I never got a date. She doesn't tell me anything. Bullshit. I told her I'll go no contact if he doesn't go, and I will go low contact if he does go, if he wants to know. He can fucking ask and write it in his calendar. I told my mum to stop staying neutral and tell me why he acts like this. The relationship is almost ruined, so there's no point in her trying to save it. He likes to play the victim, try to make it sound like my mum doesn't want him around, uses it as an excuse to make him look like a good guy. I've seen text messages when I was younger of my mum trying to get my dad to make an effort. I showed her the first post, so I'll send her this one too. Hi mum, the Kindle had screenshots of some convos. I saw them in August when I found it, so I knew for a while. I see my mum in a new light now. She'll be walking me down the aisle on my first dance. She sacrificed so much of herself for me. She's not only mum, but my dad. For non-Americans, senior night usually involves seniors and chosen people to walk them across the floor. My dad walked me down for my fall senior night, but he will not be one of my people this Friday. I'm desperate to keep contact with my sister. I know Mimo will help me with that. I know that if fiancé and dad break up, he will do the same thing to my sister. Friday came and passed. My dad got pissy when he realized I didn't want him to walk me across the gym floor. He, along with Mimo and my sister, left during halftime. We did the walk before the varsity game, and pep band can't leave the stands until third. Same as marching band plus Mimo has been to previous basketball games, along with football games. I left dad a long voicemail and message Friday for leaving, especially since my sister begged to see me and he refused her. I told Mimo I was disappointed that she left when she knew what happens at games. Monday, I finally sent him boundaries and blocked him. I know I'm going to cry later. This is going to be hard for me. Thanks for your support. It means a lot to me throughout this journey. Commenter says, hi, I'm you 30 years in the future. He doesn't change. For your own well-being, move on with your life without him in it. Shadow says, hell, I'm 30 now. I can say the same thing. He won't change. He'll call you maybe once or twice a year when it's convenient for him. Maybe send gifts that show how much he doesn't know who you are and what interests you. Maybe not. Send you the occasional pity party call or text, call me, or we don't talk enough, etc. Honestly, it's easier if he just forgets you exist and doesn't reach out at all. Easier to not get hopes up. Your mum did the same thing mine did. He doesn't see who he's missing out on knowing, watching you grow, learn and succeed in life, or being there to support you when you fall. Ain't worth the heartache trying to chase what ain't there. And there were so many comments sharing the same sort of sentiment with it, about how their fathers haven't changed. Other people talking about which surgery they would have chose, which one was priority over the other, etc, etc. It felt like a 17-year-old who's been let down by their father time and time again, and this was just the breaking point. It was just another one of those ones where, you haven't been chosen. And like some of the comments say, this guy might not ever have regrets for the choices he's made, but imagine your daughter getting to adulthood, she's pretty much there now, and looking back and seeing everything you missed. Geez, that would tear me in two. But like I said, he may never feel like that, but what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from Potential Low 8645, and it says, am I the arsehole for giving crappy Christmas gifts and ruining my marriage? Throwaway account for anonymity. I, 31 female, married my soon-to-be ex-husband, male 33, in 2018. My in-laws never liked me and made it clear. Soon-to-be ex insisted that they're just putting up a tough exterior, and they'll grow to love me. To show how evil they are, one time I joined them for dinner and brought a cake I'd made, because I was always raised to be a gracious guest. When I stepped into the kitchen and offered the cake to his mother as a thank you for inviting me, she took the plate over to the garbage bin, dumped it in, and handed me the plate back. When I told my husband what she did, he confronted her, and all of a sudden, the crocodile tears started, and she claimed she grabbed the plate but didn't get a good grip. I let it go too quickly, and it fell onto the floor, so of course it had to be thrown away. My sister-in-law confirmed that was what happened. My soon-to-be ex owned his business, and they called me a gold digger behind his back. Of course, they insisted on a prenup, which I didn't care about because I never thought my marriage would end, and it would appease them and may allow them to finally treat me kindly. Nope. His business failed once COVID hit. We went through his savings and my own, trying to keep it afloat. I refused to go into debt to keep it going, so he closed it down. In 2022, he suffered from really bad depression because he lost his business and couldn't find new work. He suggested we move to his hometown, closer to his family, so he had a larger support network. Against my best judgment, we did. He wanted to only work part-time while he tried to restart his business, so I became the main breadwinner, and as with most wives, I became the person in charge of buying gifts. Stupid old me thought buying them thoughtful, expensive gifts would finally make them see I wanted to be accepted by them. Gifts to us were a couple's gift, but clearly for my soon-to-be ex only. Every holiday was spent with them, monthly dinners with the whole family. After a year, I realized that if I ever tried to talk or join a conversation, everyone would go quiet, so I just stopped talking when I visited. In early December, they finalized plans for Christmas. A few days later, my soon-to-be ex said his family decided they didn't want me to join them for Christmas Eve dinner and Christmas lunch because I ruined the family vibe. I replied, fine, we'll do our own thing then. My soon-to-be ex sheepishly looked away and said he was still going to go. What a bloody Burke. Hope he continues. I was livid and so disappointed in him. That was the moment I knew my marriage was over. So I returned the presents I had bought for his family. In their place, I got one pair of novelty business socks for father-in-law, a supermarket brand bottle of shampoo for mother-in-law, the nastiest perfume I could find at the dollar store for sister-in-law. The most expensive gift was a large rawhide bone for brother-in-law and his wife's chihuahua, too big for it to get its jaw around, rendering it useless. I saved about $600 to put on a deposit for a new apartment. My husband came home from Christmas lunch telling me I humiliated him and embarrassed him in front of his family. I asked him why he would think I'd buy nice gifts for people who clearly don't like me and don't want me around. Served divorce papers last week. Remembered how he was supposed to be a millionaire a millionaire by now, so we had that prenup. Soon-to-be ex is not eligible for any of my savings. It was required to keep separate accounts or alimony. He doesn't have money for rent and auto insurance. Not my problem anymore. Some of my friends and family are on my side and proud that I went out in a blaze of glory. Others are telling me that I was being way too petty, which isn't really like me. So, am I the arsehole? Some comments below that were from OP. One of them said, first thing I did after I moved into my new apartment was adopt an older cat from the shelter. He was allergic and I could never adopt one since we first started living together. We're just two old hags living our best lives after being rejected. Another commenter says, he only worked 12 hours a week at Walmart, so he could do non-existent work restarting his business. I make just over 6 figures and I can't believe I didn't realize years ago I was the family ATM. Another one said, my lawyer even laughed that the prenup was set up for him is going to be what we use for me. They required both spouses to maintain separate bank accounts and each spouse could keep 100% of their savings. No spouse eligible for alimony. So OP came in with their first update and said, many thanks to everyone for their support in my last post. I thought I'd send a small update. First, for those who asked how the deposit of my new apartment was only the $600 I saved on the gifts. It certainly wasn't. I had to dip into savings, but that $600 helped. My soon-to-be ex didn't bother reaching out to me after I left until he was served the divorce papers, and my lawyer made it clear we were exercising the prenup. Then it was loving voicemails and text. I never picked up, from him and his family for a few days trying to convince me to come back, which eventually turned to threatening and cruel voicemails and texts when it was clear I wasn't budging. My lawyer suggested I don't block them so we have evidence of harassment, if needed. Basically, give them the rope to hang themselves with. But then last night I got a call from my soon-to-be ex. Stupidly, I picked up thinking there was some kind of emergency or something. I barely got hello out when he said, the rent is a week late. I told him that's strange because I paid my landlord 6 days ago. He paused and sighed dramatically and replied, no, the rent's for here. I reminded him I don't live there and he shouldn't expect rent. Cue his parents both texting me that they're going to sue me to pay the remainder of the lease entirely. I'm not worried about having an eviction on my record, since the apartment is in his parents' names. When we first announced we were moving to his hometown, they rented an apartment for us right away so we could move right in. They've been renewing the lease each year. We had to pay his parents and then they write a check to the landlord, who has no idea who soon-to-be ex and I are, let alone that we lived there. Red flag, I know. I'm glad I had a few weeks to prep my leaving since they'd probably use the fact it's their apartment to kick me out immediately. Divorce is probably going to be a bumpy ride with this man-child and his psycho parents. Any advice from anyone who's been through it is welcome. Before OP's next update, they left another comment saying lawyer is confident that they have no leg to stand on. Haven't signed any type of lease and utilities are in their name too, because they were afraid of having too many names connected to the apartment and the landlord finding out. So they're on the hook for everything that doesn't get paid. But hey, that was their choice and their scheming. Fuck around and find out. Sometime later, OP comes in with another update and says, hi, if this isn't the right place to post any updates, please direct me to a subreddit that better fits. Super sorry if I'm annoying members who aren't interested, but a few requested an update. Then they added a brief overview of the first post and the first update and then says, so the people who commented that my soon-to-be former in-laws were probably charging my soon-to-be ex and me more than the amount on the lease, you called it. And we wouldn't have found out if they weren't so entitled and determined to hurt me. They got a cousin who happens to be a lawyer to send me a letter demanding I pay the entirety of the remainder of the lease, or they will file suit and force me to pay it. Clearly a scare tactic, so my lawyer sent a formal request to their lawyer for a copy of the lease, which I've never seen, and a copy of their written agreement with us as subleases, which doesn't exist. They sent the lease and insisted the sublease agreement was a verbal contract. Not only is subleasing explicitly prohibited, but my mother-in-law and father-in-law have been charging us an extra $200 each month. So we've notified the landlord that I've been living there with my soon-to-be ex, and the leasees were living in their own house throughout the duration of the lease, and sent copies of my driver's license with the address and over 2 years of bank and credit card statements with the address listed. They were served with a 30-day eviction yesterday, which I know about because mother-in-law left a voicemail about me kicking out my soon-to-be ex out of his home and that she now drives with a baseball bat in her car and she'd be keeping an eye out for me. Lol. Obviously, my lawyer's expertise is family law, and this was out of her purview. So she referred me to a colleague who focuses on real estate law. We met today to devise a battle plan, and now I'm suing my mother-in-law and father-in-law for all the money I can prove I transferred to rent for the entirety of the residency there, since the apartment was technically not a legal apartment to rent since they couldn't sublease. No clean hands to rent to us and then sue me. He's not sure how a judge will buy it, and it's way beyond my state's civil compensation limit. But he's confident that it will scare them and leave them open to settling for just returning the additional $200 from each payment. Which I think is fair, because I did live there with my soon-to-be ex, so I don't think it's right to get all the rent money back. I'm an adult and adults pay rent, and I don't want them to have the satisfaction of saying I'm using the divorce as a windfall. On the soon-to-be ex front, there's no news there. We will likely need to go to family court for a separation order, since he won't agree to the financial details of the separation agreement my lawyer has drafted. My state requires a 1-year separation period before a divorce can be finalized, so this is going to be a long process. A few people asked why he did what he did and if he's offered any kind of explanation or justification. We haven't really talked since he was served. I don't know if he just fell out of love, but I was still financially convenient, or if the mask finally lifted, or if it was being so close to his family and them having opportunities to manipulate him. I don't know, and I don't care. I don't need closure. I need them all gone. Looking back, making promises during couples counseling, and slowly regressing back is enough closure. Knowing he allowed his family to treat me like crap for so long is closure. That final betrayal at Christmas is closure. My focus isn't on figuring it out, it's making sure I'm happy. And the final comments from OP. They said about the voicemails, I'm saving them all. Voicemails, texts, emails, etc. Absolutely, like the threat with a baseball bat. Surely that's legal hot water in itself. Another comment from OP says, honestly, I feel like a new person. I feel like someone who's been ill and finally able to go outside and breathe fresh air. Someone suggested about a restraining or a protective order. OP said absolutely. She's going to regret it because she works for the school district and a restraining order won't let her teach. How stupid can that mother-in-law be? And OP about a prenup says it was set up in his favor because he owned the business that was supposed to be a huge success. COVID hit and it went poof. Now I'm the one with the money and the prenup is actually protecting me. A commenter says to OP, don't forget to investigate suing for the return of the money invested in his business. It was a premarital asset, and exempt from prenup. Worth a shot to see if you can recover some or all of that wasted savings. OP said, I'd never thought of this. I'll bring it up when I meet with my lawyer next. And the final comment from OP. When we first told his family we were moving back to his hometown, his parents went ahead and signed a lease for us to make the move easier. Personally, I think it was to make the move happen sooner and have control over us. They were worried about too many names attached to the apartment, so power, internet, etc. is also in their name. OP's absolutely right though to keep handing them rope to basically hang themselves with, because that's what they're doing time and time again. The mother-in-law with a text that she's got a baseball bat in her car that she's going to use on OP if she ever sees her. I mean, come on. But the absolute betrayal I felt at the start of this post, where OP went to the lengths to make a cake to bring round the house. A cake! And mother-in-law just took it and dumped it straight in the bin. Whew, that got me riled up so much. But what do you guys make of this situation? Good on OP in this one. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today. Getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time, it always means the absolute world to me. And don't forget, at the very end of the video, there'll be a couple of playlists there that you can click on. It will automatically scroll through those videos for you, so you can just sit, chillax, do whatever you're up to, and just listen in. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, and much love.